Hello and welcome to my channel. Lucian, or better known as Blood Diamond, is the first final boss you'll meet on the last stage of Floor 5. This boss fight can be extremely frustrating due to the onslaught of enemies and of course, the boss himself. So this video is here to introduce his skills, spawn position, pathing and more. First, let's look at his stats. Lucian has high HP, high attack, average defense and resistance. His stats are pretty average for a boss. Seems like a relatively easy boss to defeat, until you take a look at his skills. Lucian has 3 passive and 2 active skills. His first passive skill makes his attacks inflict nervous impairment. This can be very troublesome to deal with as the nervous impairment can stun and deal big damage, which can cause enemies to leak past your operators. The best way to deal with this is to use a wandering medic like Mulberry to mitigate the accumulation of nervous impairment to some extent. His second passive skill lets his attacks ignore 40% of an operator's defense, and lastly, he has a 40% chance to dodge arts or physical damage when he isn't blocked. Nothing much you can do to counter these skills. Next up are his active skills. Lucian will do an AoE physical attack equal to 80% of his attack and inflicts nervous impairment damage equal to 20% of his attack in a 2-tile radius. This skill has a cooldown of 10 seconds. Having a wandering medic at hand to deal with the nervous impairment damage will be great, but if you do not have one, and your operators are grouped together, an AoE medic will work fine as well, but you'll have to watch out for the nervous impairment damage. His second skill states that when Lucian is blocked, he'll dash past the obstacle and leave behind an ominous apparition. This skill is similar to Crownslayer's skill and it has a cooldown of 15 seconds. An extremely annoying skill as melee operators with short range can barely do anything before he teleports away. To deal with this skill, it is recommended to use a melee operator to bait out the skill, and while it is on cooldown, deploy another operator, usually one with a high damage output like Surtur, to deal as much damage as possible before the cooldown is over. The best counter to this skill is to use ranged operators instead. If there are no obstacles to block him, Lucian won't teleport or summon any ominous apparitions, but it can be quite difficult to accomplish that due to the tiles in the stage and the other enemies. Before moving on, do note that this is only part 1 of this integrated strategies boss guide, and I'll eventually cover all the bosses, so if you are interested, do consider subscribing to stay tuned and show your support. Now, moving on to the ominous apparition stats and skills. It has average HP, high attack, average defense and low resistance. Its skills are the same as Lucian's, the dodge chance when not blocked, the AoE attack, the 40% defense ignoring ability, and its attacks inflict nervous impairment at large amounts. The multiple AoE attacks can wipe out your operators easily before the medics even get the time to heal. 1 or 2 of them in the stage at once is manageable, but any more than that, you might start to struggle, as Lucian spawns one of these every time he dashes past the obstacle blocking him. Try not to block him too much and focus on using ranged damage dealers instead. Lucian is immune to silence, stun, sleep and freeze, so stalling can be rather difficult. Thankfully, he can still be slowed. Lucian will appear in stage ISWDF, crying over spilt milk, and this is the stage layout. Lucian will spawn here and stay there for a while before making his way up and towards the left of the stage. He will then stop on this tile for a short while before dashing through and destroying the roadblock here, leaving behind an ominous apparition. The 2 of them will then walk down to the bottom of the stage and stop on this tile for a while before dashing through and destroying this roadblock, leaving behind another ominous apparition. They will then take this path and walk through the center of the stage before entering the blue box. Lucian essentially covers every inch of the stage, so no tile is safe from him. Lastly, here are some of the operators that work well in this stage. Chalter, Silver Ash and Surtur are all great picks for killing the boss as quickly as possible. Mulberry and Honeyberry for healing and recovering nervous impairment damage, while Telopsis is great for big AoE healing. Exia, Ash and Arketo are good choices for managing the right side of the stage. Defenders are also a great choice to tank the enemies coming through the center, but do be careful of the stun from nervous impairment damage. I would recommend you to play on ×1 speed if you aren't confident with this stage. And last but not least, best of luck in clearing this boss fight. And that is all for the Lucian boss guide. Hope this video is helpful in introducing what will be coming in the final boss stage. I will be making similar videos in the future, so do consider subscribing to stay tuned. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.